Hello there, it's your friend Phil, project management trainer and coach. Today, let's talk about the strategies for negative risks or threats really quick. Now, these strategies for negative risks or threats are ways that you can manage risks that you find on the project, or if you will, ways you can respond to risks you find on your project of a negative nature. So let's take a look at these really quick. The first one I'll cover is called accept. When you accept a risk, it means that you're not doing anything proactive to deal with the risk. There are two types of accept. We've got passive acceptance, doing absolutely nothing, just accepting it as it is and saying, if it happens, it happens. We'll deal with it when we get there. The second type of accept is active accept. In active accept, you could be putting aside a contingency such as money, time, resources, or other things to deal with the risk if it does happen. The difference between passive and active is active at least takes some action to put aside some sort of contingency, money, time, maybe even a backup plan if the risk does happen. So it doesn't necessarily have to be money. It doesn't necessarily have to be resources. It could be some sort of fallback. If the risk happens, then we do that. And that's why we call it accept, because you're not doing anything in advance of the risk happening to proactively deal with the risk, other than saying, I'm not doing anything, or if it happens, then. You see, after it happens, it's too late to prepare, right? After the risk happens, it's happened. And that's why we call this accept. And unfortunately, some people mix up accept with mitigate. Mitigate is taking action before the risk happens. Accept is at best saying, if the risk happens, I'll have an active strategy to do that. You see the difference? So that's accept. Let's take a look at the next one. The next one on my list is transfer. Transferring a risk means you're transferring the risk to a third party, transferring it to someone outside of the project, transferring that responsibility. And the most common transfer approach is insurance. In some instances, like a project I was on in the past, performance bonds was the way the customer decided to handle the risk of us, the underdog, working on the project. And I'm talking about an engineering firm, not in the realm of project management training, but in engineering. And the client decided to take performance bonds out on this firm that I worked for at the time. That's an example of transfer. The next one here is escalate. When do you escalate a risk? When it is outside of your authority or capability to handle the risk, and in instances where it cuts across strategic objectives of the firm at a much higher level, then you can involve people who can handle the risk better. The next one on my list is avoid. In avoiding the risk, it means you're cutting off part of the scope, or you are totally avoiding one of the project objectives that may be at risk. For example, if you're building in an area such as where there could be an earthquake, you could say, I refuse to build this structure in LA because of this risk. I'm going to build elsewhere. And you go somewhere down the Midwest where that can't happen. You've avoided that risk in particular, but that doesn't mean you've avoided all the risks. There could be risk of a tornado or something else. So avoid is taking action to cut off that risk objective, that project objective that is at risk, to make sure that it doesn't even come into play at all. Another example would be a team member is a loose cannon and known to have anger issues. To tackle that risk, you could choose to remove that person from the project. And in so removing the person from the project, you've avoided the risk. Now, another response to the risk could say, I'm going to mitigate the risk. Let's go to our next one, mitigate. If you are mitigating a risk in that regard, instead of taking the person off the project to avoid the risk, you could send the person for anger management classes or training to reduce the probability of them going off or saying something wrong to the client or doing something strange. You could also introduce as a mitigation measure job shadowing. So the summary is when you put all of these together, you can see we've got an acronym, A team. A team. Well, not the A team, but A team. Whatever you make of that, this is how you can remember the strategies for negative risks or threats: accept, transfer, escalate, avoid, and mitigate. I hope that helps you along in your studying. Remember, if you are getting ready for the PMP exam and looking for ways to proactively spend time studying, go to Praizion.com. That's Praizion.com. Check out the numerous study materials we've got. If you're new to this whole thing and you've got no clue about the PMBOK guide, maybe understanding the guide is for you. But if you're already in the game to getting certified, maybe PMP Exam Prep Camp 2018 is for you. And if you're done with your 35 hours and you want to kick off the tires to rapidly cover the content, not in 35 hours, but in 6 hours, 10 hours, maybe 16 hours, then you want to go for the PMP Exam Power Review live. And if you're on the move a lot and you need to maximize time with some audio while you're on the road, then it's going to be the Project Management Audio Digest. And if you keep going down the list, you see we've got tools and techniques videos, Project Management Night School for beginners, Risk Management Professionals for those who want to go for the RMP. We've got 3 hopelessly ridiculous mock exams that will kick you into realities of the PMP. I tell you, these 3 mocks, they are just horrendous. So don't waste your time looking for other mocks. These are the mocks you need. Sit on the system, go over what you got wrong, what you got right. I'm telling you, this will give you a great run for your time. We also have 14 days to PMP exam fitness, very low cost. This will help you as you study for the exam to know what exactly to do. It will help you put your studying into a 14-day curriculum. We've got Agile 101, Earn Value Mania, and the PMP exam cram list for people who just need a few study aids to get good in Agile, earn value, or an overall view of all the tools, techniques, inputs, and outputs, all in one place, in one cram list. So I hope that helps you. Just remember that we're going to have some additional sessions where we talk a little bit more about these strategies for risks. In our next series, we'll cover the strategies for positive risks or opportunities. Take care and all the best in your PMP prep.